Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Monday night right here on the Edge of Tech and the Community Showcase. Let's see. I saw a bunch of people in chat already, so welcome and happy early chatting. I saw in the beginning we had a nice disagreement between Andrew S. and Inventor Square. Who was first? That was pretty funny. So whoever was first, welcome and congratulations on being first. I've been talking before the stream with our guest this week, and I'm super excited to bring him on. And I know a bunch of us have watched his videos, so that's really exciting. Just want to look at chat so I didn't miss anything. I see something about Wicked Realm. Dave Williamson, thanks for shouting that out. I'm not sure why, but thanks for shouting it out. Nice. We got a lot of great chats. 3D Medic Vince is in the house. He says, "Showtime, baby." Hopefully I don't sound like Barry White. Luckily, I warned our guest, and he said, "Wait, it just changed. You sound like Barry White again." So I had to fix it real quick before we started. That's why we're about a minute late here. But we've been rocking and rolling. Welcome, everybody. Like I said, another Monday night. It's going to be a great show. I won't keep us too long because I know we got to be pretty spot on at about 7 tonight. Lindsay's making a special dinner from Blue Apron, I think, or something like that. It's going to be super good, and I know our guest has to get going right away too, so I don't want to keep him too late. And if you guys know me, I talk so much. Any chance of a Discord, Ben Stanley? We could. I struggle to think that I'm going to be able to be productive in it. And if it's something you guys want to see, light it up in the chat. We definitely could grab a Discord going, or I could tell you which Discords I'm in. And you guys could join those too. I know there's a really pretty cool one, a couple of cool ones that I'm actually a part of, but I don't get a lot of time in there because I don't have a ton of time to play. But yeah, we could definitely do it. Welcome over dinner time. Real quick, let's go through this and we can get our guest flying here. Congratulations last week to Ron. I know Ron is waiting for his filament in Canada. Hopefully it'll be delivered tomorrow. Congrats, Ron, on that. Sponsors, TH3D, thank you so much for being a sponsor of the show and of the channel. As a sponsor, I'm going to throw this out there to everybody out there. It's not in the description, but you can find it here. I'll put it in the description later. TEOT5 in the checkout gives you 5% off if you want to grab anything tonight from TH3D. So check that out. I'll leave that run for a second so you guys can watch it. TEOT5 in the checkout at TH3D. Also, Coex Filament, Coex 3D. Thank you guys so much for some awesome filament that you guys provide and the giveaways like last week to Ron. We'll do another one next week, I think, from you guys. And I just want to thank you so much. I got to get up there again. You guys aren't far, and I need to make another trip. Maybe we could do a Monday show from there. That would be awesome. I'll have to get a hold of you. RPM Designs and Robbie Mac. Hashtag Wingman. Thank you so much for all the graphics. I really appreciate everything from the channel for the show and everything else. You are the man, sir. Let's see. TEOT5 for, I'm going to take that out, and I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything. But without further ado, I don't want to take too long because I'm super pumped to talk to this gentleman. I've been watching his videos since I started thinking about getting a resin printer. I'm doing this because I don't remember where I put them. They're in the cabinet behind me now. But I've been watching his videos. He's super awesome content, and I'm really pumped to ask him some questions about some of the products he used too. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Garrett from 3DPrintFarm. How you doing, Garrett?
Good. How about you guys?
Oh man,
we're great. Thanks.
I'm doing great. I got the Batman shirt flying today, and
I got the Atari shirt going.
I love it.
Go a little old school, you know.
Nice. So everybody, welcome Garrett to the show. First time in the show, and this is your first live stream.
This is my first live stream. Yes, sir.
Nice. I love it. Well, I hope you love it because you're welcome anytime. It is so much fun to come on to talk to people in the chat, to talk to other makers too. You know, it's a lot of fun. We actually got Ron, Canadian Maker Projects, in the house. Hopefully you get that filament tomorrow, Ron. So welcome. I tell you what I'm going to do. Let me give you a couple minutes. Who are you? What do you do? Where can we find you? And I'll let you start there because there's some people that probably don't know that. So go ahead.
So my name is Garrett, and my channel is 3DPrintFarm. And most of the time, I focus on resin printers. I started this channel a little over a year ago when I purchased an Anycubic Photon, and spent a lot of time with the Anycubic Photon users group, and spent a lot of time with those guys learning the ins and outs of resin printers and how they work, and learning all the ups and downs, and the things that can go wrong and can go right with a resin printer, and just really enjoyed those. I spent some time printing and painting miniatures, and that's been a lot of fun. And it's it's kind of a Zen thing. You can get your miniatures out there and start painting them, and you can get really chill with that. So I really enjoyed that, and ended up picking up an Anycubic, actually picking up an Elegoo Mars after that, and the prices started coming down on these printers, and the market just started exploding. So I wanted to share my knowledge of what I learned in the forums, and my experience with resins and resin printers. And I've learned a lot along the way, and a lot of my subs that have taught me a lot of things, some things that I've done wrong, and some things that I've improved on. And so it's just kind of evolved from there. I have acquired probably too many resin printers, that my wife would probably tell me, but I've got several of them. The last one is this Frozen Sonic Mini, which they're not out yet, but I've been really enjoying that one here recently. But I actually do live on a farm, so I live on a couple acre farm in Arkansas, and
nice.
Really enjoy it out here. So if you guys have seen some of my first few early videos, I kind of introduced you to some of the animals that live on the farm. So yeah, it's just kind of a play on words, but yeah, we have a lot of fun doing it, and just really enjoying the whole process. Prior to that, I had the one of the early, I guess it was a printer bot simple that I built from a laser cut wood kit. So that was one of the early printers I had. Went to a gosh, what was that? It was an Ender 2, and then several Ender 3s. I've got one of the newer Ender 3s. Went to a Prusa Mark. I've got a Prusa Mark 3, a Flash Forge Creator.
Nice.
CR10, so a lot of those are either packed away, or so I kind of have to rotate them out because I don't have the room in the in my office here. So I kind of go back and forth. Now I've been kind of tinkering with lasers and that kind of thing. So it's just the whole 3D maker space is wide open, and any suggestions that I would give to anyone, that it's gotten so affordable now that anyone can get into the hobby, and it's so much fun. I mean, with guys like you and some of the other folks out there that are in the 3D printing space, everyone is so helpful, and so welcome to share knowledge between each other, and I just think it's awesome. And I just really love the hobby and the folks that I'm
yeah. One of this we talk about it almost every week, it comes up, but the community around 3D printing as a whole is just awesome. It's super cool. I mean, there's, from the people that are watching now to chatting to the people that'll help you in Facebook, and the people that'll like message you behind the scenes, hey, by the way, you did this, but you should have done this. That stuff all helps, Let's see. Greg says he's up to 7 printers again. LOL. Well, counting the Prusa Mini that's coming tomorrow, he said. Nice. Congrats. Let's see. Cool. And if you guys have questions for Garrett or myself, just shoot them in the chat, and I'll try to keep up with that while we're talking. I know we talked a little bit about your resin printing, and a lot of your content so far has been around your resin printing. It's really cool to hear that you have FDM as well, because it's fun how that transition works, but with your resin printing, like the Frozen one, behind you, the video you put out a couple of days ago, you were getting like 2-second layer times, right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. We're on 2.2-second layer times on that.
Jeez.
And just to watch that thing move, it's just it was pretty exciting, pretty unbelievable.
So, man, here's one for you. He says Epox X1 or the Frozen Sonic Mini.
Yeah, that's actually a good question. The Epox X1 is it's a great printer. It's a solid printer. I know a lot of the guys that use that will use the Epox even in a production environment. So where they're producing, I know one of the gentlemen on the Epox forum produces some type of a piece on an insulin pump, and he just cranks out these pieces, and that's part of his business. And he has 8 to 10 of these Epox X1s, and they're just nonstop, you know. And but as far as the Frozen, I would say the Frozen is a great product for someone, let's say, that's just wanting to get into resin printing, because for under $200, it's going to be a great starting point. Since it does work with Chi2 Box, you'll be able to, you know, use the same tools that the folks that have an Anycubic Photon or a Mars, you'll be able to use that same tool. And you can, I mean, as far as the lingo is concerned, with the normal times and the light off and on times and things like that, it all transitions all across the board. So, and you can use the exact same type of resins that you can use for the Epox. The Epox is, again, the Epox is a great resin printer. You know, it's going to cost you a little bit more money than, let's say, a Photon or a Mars or the Frozen. But I mean, it's built like a tank, and like I said, it will just continually crank out those prints. And I have, you know, nothing but good things to say about the Epox.
Nice. So another quick question here: what kind of things do you print that you use for the farm?
No,
That's a good one.
Yeah, you know, there's yeah, actually there are a few things. You know, we have some chickens, and my wife's got a peacock out there, and so we got all kinds of. It's a menagerie. I do have a couple hives of bees, and so some of the items that I printed to use in the beehives, you know, some of the around the bee bottom boards, there's some little plastic areas that you would have to purchase online. So a lot of those I'll just put together in Tinkercad, you know, which is a free online program that, you know, we all have used, and export those things out as an STL and either print it on your FDM printer or print it on your resin printer. And you know, different handles for rabbit cages, and you know, just, you know, there's all kinds of things you can dream up to print, you know, whether it's even on your remote control for your television or whatever, you know. It's just it's limitless.
Nice. Oh man, let's see when it pops up. I want to push it on the screen, but the StreamYard comments are hair delayed here. But thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gus's Custom there. I'm waiting for it to pop up so I can pop up. He just shot $10 towards the channel, and I really appreciate that in the super chat. So thank you so much for that. And as soon as I see the graphic on my right side here, I'm going to pop it up for everyone to see. But thank you. Paul Cumber says, can you mix the colors and the SLA, the 3D printers?
Yes, you actually can. I don't have it. I don't have it with me here, but there's a there's actually pigments that you can buy, and I've got. Let's see, where's a good one here? So there's a particular resin I use. If you guys can see that, this is Monocure. Elegoo makes a clear resin as well, and what you can do is you can take that clear resin and mix your pigments with that, and that's typically what I'll do to mix colors. But what you'll want to do is you'll want to make sure that it has the same exposure rating, because if you mix two resins that, let's say, one cures at 6 seconds a layer and the other one cures at 8, you know, you may have some issues. So what I try to do is take a base color, maybe usually a clear, and then I'll mix the pigment. In fact, the same company that makes Monocure makes they call it like a CMYK color spectrum. So you'll get your black, your cyan, yellow, magenta, and but you can mix colors all day long with the clear, and I don't have any problems at all with that. So that's actually a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
You know, my Elegoo Mars, actually the Elegoo Gray resin is probably one of my favorites to print with because it's easy. You know, if you guys are looking for an easy resin to print, the Elegoo Gray is by far the easiest. I don't really like a lot of the black resins because just like, you know, when these resins are exposed to the UV light, a lot of people don't understand that, you know, there are a lot of them are color dependent. So if it's black, that layer is going to take a lot longer to cure because that black is just absorbing that light. And so, you know, like the Anycubic black, I don't like that. It has kind of a stinky smell. I kind of shy away from the Anycubic resins. Hope I'm not offending any Anycubic resin users out there, but those are, you know, they're great resins, but I prefer to stay away from the less stinky ones.
So I just wanted to shout out. It didn't pop into my chat, so I can't show it yet. But Gus's Custom Creations, thank you so much again. I wanted to make sure I got your full channel name because I wasn't seeing it in the chat. But Gus's Custom Creations, thank you for that $10. Let's see. The 3D Misprinter says he needs attack bees for his lair. I wonder if he found a way to make them. That's pretty funny. Let's see if we had any more quick questions. Would clear or translucent resins be faster to print then?
Yeah, it actually depends on the resin. So another good brand that I like is this. See, this is the Soriatec fast resins, and that, you know, you really bring up a good point. You know, there's all different types of resins. There's fast resins, clear resins. Another one that I like is this is the Flex 100, which is you know, a lot of times you'll print items that are typically more brittle, and what you'll do is you'll add a little bit of this Flex 100 to the resin to make it a little bit more pliable, especially when you're printing your miniatures. You know, if your miniature has you know, he's got a sword in his hand, and, you know, you happen to drop it on the floor, it doesn't snap. So that the flexible resins will give you a little bit more flexibility, and the Soriatecs are outstanding. I mean, I've got some others from Hars Labs over here. This guy, he's out of Russia, and this is the glow in the dark resin. And one of my videos, I show a glow in the dark. It has a glow in the dark pigment, so you got to shake the crap out of it to get it you know, to print. But yeah, I mean, all these. I mean, you've got wax cast resins, so if you're, you know, printing any wax castings, and that's another thing that this frozen back here will do. So, you know, you've got your SLA resins, which are specific to laser. The frozen will actually print the SLA resins as well, which is nice. Cool. Now you got to go longer on them. It won't do it in it won't do it in 2.2 seconds, but you can actually print with that as well.
Robbie Max says that the fast is on sale this week for $29 on Amazon.
Yeah, it's great buy.
If I find that, I'll throw it in my Amazon storefront. If anybody out there is looking for it, $29 is a good buy for that, I think. And here's another question. How much and roughly how long does a bottle last? That's a kind of a trick question, I think.
Well, that's actually a good question. So I guess a lot of it depends on what you print. You know, so if let's say that you're printing, you know, any type of them. So here's here's actually a miniature that I did, and you can see it, yeah. And so this thing is actually hollow, so it doesn't take, you know, you would use maybe. Looking at a bottle of resin, maybe around this much. So, you know, and you could print miniatures. You could probably get 60 miniatures or so, maybe not this size, but maybe the 28 millimeter miniatures out of an entire bottle. Again, a lot of it depends. If you print this solid now, you know, it's going to take a lot more. But that's one of the beauties of one of the nice things about Chi2 Box is when you slice your model, it tells you exactly how many grams it's going to use for that particular model. So it kind of gives you an idea, oh, you know, it's going to take X amount of resin or X amount of mils of resin to be able to use for that particular model. So, you know, an average, you know, bottle of resin is going to run you, you know, 29 to, you know, on up, you know, for resin. Sometimes you can get it on sale, and I mean, a lot of it keeps a while. I've had resins here for that are over a year old and they print fine. You know, a lot of it's you'll get it. It has the born on date, which is, you know, when it was created. But you know, as long as you keep it, you know, temperature controlled, don't keep it out in your, you know, 100-degree garage, or don't let it freeze. You know, keep it to where it's not gonna, where it's temperature controlled. You shake it up well. You know, I haven't had any issues with any of my resins.
Nice. Paul Cumber says, how many times can you use the filament? I'm assuming you meant the resin, and once once it's printed, it's done. I mean, what did I have? Oh, I showed this on the hey Blasto. Let's see. I showed this on the Saturday Night Maker stream, and it's a very rare print. I don't think many people are doing this one yet, and I had to try it on. I tried it on that printer we talked about before the stream, and it came out like this. And then on the Photon, it printed much better. But this is what it is. You guys can find it. I'll put a link in the description below. It's very rare. No, I'm just joking. It's just a stinking, what do they call him? Baby Yoda, the child. That's a really bad picture. But anyways, so I printed this one solid before I realized I could hollow them out. So I printed the other one. I have another one behind me, and you can really tell the weight difference. I mean, it's a serious difference between solid and hollow. Now, my question would be, in say this model here, where would you put a drain hole if you're printing it hollow? Do you want to use drain holes for one, and for two, where would you put it on this? Because it prints, you know, upside down like that.
Sure.
And I don't want a hole in the top of his head.
No, you don't want a hole. No, you don't want a hole on top of his head. So yeah, you've got a good question. So like on this particular model here, which is
blow you up. There you go.
Yeah. So I've got the holes right on the bottom here. So right here. So she actually, when she was printing, so what you're really wanting to do is and the reason why you hollow your models, not only to save money, but you want to hollow your models because larger models have, especially when they're hollow, you have a suction cup effect. So what you want to do is you want to relieve that pressure from your model. And I've done this before. I had I've got a Batman model around here that somewhere that I only made one hole. So, and it's kind of important to put two holes in here. And you're probably thinking, well, why would you need two holes? Well, when you go to rinse this off, you know how hard it is for fluid to get in just one hole? Because, you know, when you're like, if you put a Coke bottle down when you stick a Coke bottle like in the water and you turn it upside down, you know, you have to have a little bit of air flow in order to fill it up. So what I would suggest is when you're hollowing your models, always put two holes in there to allow one for the air to go in to displace the water as the water's going in, or whatever fluid that you're using, the IPA or mean green or whatever. But to get back to your question, so when again, as this thing prints upside down, the model, what you'll want to do is you want to put your air holes closer to the build plate. So as the model goes up and down, that air hole at the top, which would be attached to the build plate, it will release that pressure. And it's out of the way, so you really can't see it. So if it's on an orc or something, you don't want to put it under a skirt or whatever, whatever. So yeah, so you don't see it on top of their head, because eventually on top of their heads, that's going to be the last thing that's going to be printed, right. And it's going to be closed up and it gets ugly and things like that. So you'll want to put it like toward the actual plate, toward the actual
Gotcha.
build plate.
So, and a couple of people, so in Cheetah Box, I think that's how you say it, or if you're Tom Sandlander, it's Cheetah Box or whatever he said. but anyways, there is a hollow out feature, yeah. And then there's actually a feature you click and you can tell it where to put holes at. And that's what we're talking about. I know 3D Jimmy asked, how thin can you print? How thin of a wall can you get? And that's a good question. I know Bill kind of responded and said depends on the printer on how thin your walls can be. What's the thinnest you've ever tried?
Oh yeah. It may have been something similar to this. And if you go super thin. Again, you know, this resin is so stinking brittle,
Right.
and you know, if you even bump it, it's gonna knock a hole in it. And I've dropped them, and they've shattered, and not cool. No,
No.
not cool. And you know, now some of them that have maybe some flexibility are fine, but I haven't printed, you know, any with like really super thin shells, especially when I hollow them. I try to increase that out, you know, uh, not a whole lot, but at least where you've got, it has a little bit of support. And I'm thinking around, it's either 0.2, 0.3 in that range, just to keep it a little bit on the thick side.
On for the shell.
For the shell, exactly.
So with your, what time we got plenty of time. Nice. So with your cleaning regimen, can we talk about that for a minute? So I know you have some videos out there, and I highly encourage anybody in the chat right now, anybody watching in the future, jump on the link. It's in the description below for Garrett's, you know, channel. But while we're talking, I'm just getting into resin printing. I have the standard like pickle jar up here, you know, and I got that actually from a viewer when I bought his Photon. And so do you use how do I say this with whatever you can talk about? We'll say that.
Okay.
Do you use like a sonic cleaner? Do you use any of those style cleaners, or do you just use IPA or mean green? There's so many conflicting things out there. And on top of all of that, how do you use that glass cleaner, right? The spray away?
Yes. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Can you talk about that too? Because I've always wanted to ask. I've been watching your videos, and I'm like, what, does he just use this on everything? So
no, not on everything, but what I do use the sprayway on is like to clean the build plate and to clean the bottom of the vat when I get through. And so what the sprayway glass cleaner is it has a perfume grade alcohol, and it has some type of a resin dissolving agent. And you know, it's been around since, I want to say, since the 1940s or something like that. I mean, it's been around forever. You can get it cheap, pick it up at Walmart. You know, if you're in Canada, I believe it's a Canadian Tire supplier. I don't know if you can get it in the UK or in Germany, but it's less than $2 a can. And I always keep a can around, whether it's just to, you know, clean my windows, but most of the time I'll just, you know, if I spill a little bit of resin on a table, I mean, it's great to clean up spills with it, you know, as long as you're wearing your protective gloves. And that's one thing I try to stress. And, you know, when I did some of my early videos, I was wearing latex gloves, and I kind of got beat up by a lot of folks. It's like, he's wearing latex, you know, because latex will leach resin like nobody's business. So if you guys are, you know, want to get into resin printing, get you some nitrile gloves. They're cheap. If you got Harbor Freight next to you, or if you got a Walmart, you can pick those up super cheap. And those are great. The mean green, I kind of got that from Uncle Jesse, just kind of watching his videos, and that actually works well, but you have to heat it up a little bit, and I wouldn't suggest heating it in a microwave. Not that I've done that before, but you know, if the fluid is a little bit heated up, you know, I'd never do that to IPA because of, you know, for obvious reasons. But it seems like that does work a little bit. Seems like it does work well. I do have a sonic cleaner, and I've been using it as well, and it's the particular sonic heater that I have is heated. So I'll put the mean green in there, stick the print in there, heat it up to about 50 degrees Celsius or so. One of the nice things about that is that when you take your print off the build plate, I know you guys have probably seen me, when I take the print off the build plate, I'll try to crack the supports off, because there's a couple schools of thought. You know, sometimes it's like, well, I want to crack them off while they're still pliable, because after you cure it, you know, it inherently goes brittle on you, and then you leave these little pock marks all over your prints. And so what I'll end up doing is I'll put the model in the heated cleaning solution, and then when it comes out, I mean, all the supports just kind of melt away, which is awesome. And I've been doing that more frequently.
Nice.
Go ahead.
You use about 50C on that?
Yes, about 50C on the heated. And sometimes I'll let it just come up to temp and then run it about 5 minutes in the Sonic.
5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And then let's see. So we talked about me. So any I was reading Inventor Square's comment. He's let's see. They said, "I've learned so much from 3D Print Farm. Among thousands of things, he is the legend behind the pickle strainer."
Oh yeah, that was one of those things. My mom used to use those as used to use those pickle strainers back in the day, and I was just sitting around and thinking about I could use that to clean some of my prints with, and I ended up putting it out in one of the forums, and I think Uncle Jesse picked it up and he put it out in one of his videos, and just kind of blew up from there. I don't know, I don't even get any royalties from the pickle strainer manufacturers, but, those are it's actually a great tool, to pick one up and use it for to dunk your prints in. Right. And it works really good. And but yeah, it's an old toothbrush works great. If you're going to if you have a Dollar Tree, or if you got an old toothbrush laying around, or an old toothbrush that that not from someone you don't like, you don't want to use their toothbrush, but I mean, you want to get into all the nooks and crannies. When you get something like this, which is like a little ogre guy, I mean, he's got all kinds of nooks and crannies. And the problem is with this is if you don't clean them real well, you'll think it's perfectly clean, and you'll get it out and you'll see these little white spots of residue, and all that is the uncured resin that's on there. And it's really annoying, especially when you're trying to get, when you're trying to remove that after the fact, after you've cleaned it, after you've stuck it under the UV light, and it's just a pain. So, the Sonic cleaners tend to really help get all the resin off. And Amazon's got them. They're not real expensive, but if you're going to get one, I would suggest to get one that's heated, because it's a lot easier than trying to heat it. The liquid in the microwave is non-flammable liquid in the microwave, and then trying to pour it in and that kind of thing. And I mean, it's possible you can do it in the pickle strainer as well, but again, don't do that with your IPA.
No. So C-Dub 3D says, any knowledge of Prusa Slicer, Simplified 3D, or Kira supporting any of these non-laser resin printers, or is Cheetah Box basically, quote, it for these? And I think Prusa Slicer is now, right?
Yes, Prusa Slicer. Yes, you can use it for I believe it for either the SLA or the don't quote me on the SLA printing, but I know you can use it. It will export it out as files that you can 3D resin print. In fact, I've had some people ask me, there's so many tutorials on Cheetah Box now, why don't you do one on Prusa Slicer as well? And I think that's something that I'd like to do in the future, is use Prusa Slicer to see how well it slices these prints up so you can print them.
And I heard recently on, I'm trying to remember where I saw this, might be on one of the pages, people were putting their prints into Prusa Slicer for the automatic supports, and then pulling them back out into Cheetah Box or Cheetah Box, or however you say it, and so how would that work? In my brain, I'm thinking, do you export it? How would you export that out of Prusa Slicer to put it back into Cheetah Box?
There's a type of file type that you can export your models out. Okay. And it's CBD DLP is the file extension that Cheetah Box will export as. And I've got another video that when you export your file out as a CBD DLP file, that you can move those into different types of slicers. I believe Prusa Slicer is one. Also, the Photon File Validator is, if you haven't seen my video on the Photon File Validator, that's another. It's a great tool to use to find out, exactly where the spots that that you think need supports, because we're all human. I don't know where everything's at, and when I'll inevitably run it through there, and I'll see spots that I've missed, and right. I'll go back and try to fix them. But yes, I have heard that Prusa Slicer has done a really good job of putting automatic supports in, and But you know, to me, it's kind of like a game, right? I mean, it's like what you really want to do is you want to put that model in there, and even if it's something small and maybe that doesn't require a lot of supports, but try to set manual supports up, and just to see, you know, in how they're set up. And
Right.
because the more you do that, the more you understand, okay, this is how these models are supported, and this is how, because it's not, it's by far, you know, SLA printing is, or your FDM printing is just, it's nowhere near resin printing, and you know that, you know, you can set up supports in FDM, and you're in another world for resin printing. So you have to rethink everything. Everything's upside down and it's liquid, and you know, and it's
and it's at an angle.
At an angle, you put stuff at 45s, and yeah. So
speaking of people who recommended me to your channel early on, Mike from Never Let the Machines Wins here. Welcome, Mike. And I know Robbie Mack, he was here too. Both those guys, when I grabbed that first photon out, they're like, you need to check this out. I was like, I have been. That's like, that's the best part, is that I was looking up the, you know, I watch while I'm working. I listen in my headset or in my earpiece, and if I can't physically watch, at least I'm listening, that kind of thing. And when I start trying to figure something out, I jump on wherever I can find info. And I think it's really cool that there's so many of us out there sharing info, because you always want to go see what a couple or people, more than one person does, you know, myself included, because I think it's good to form your own opinions. Don't just follow one person. Like, but at the same time, you have some of the best resin, you know, printer videos out there. So it's super easy to watch. If you guys didn't see the latest one, I think it came out 2 or 3 days ago. Like I said, there's a printer behind Garrett here that does 2.2 layers second, and it's just like, wow, that's like what, 3-4 times faster than a photon, you know?
Yeah.
So, let's see. I'm just reading real quick here. So here's a good question. So I found that the Photon, I think it's Photonsters group, has a giant spreadsheet of all the resins and the times and all that stuff. How closely do you look at that and base your stuff out? Because I have the gray, and I was printing one of these, the child, right? And it's a Anycubic gray that I got with the printer, and it said like 14-second layer times and like 100-second like first layers, and I'm just like, holy moly. And it's like highlighted in green, so I thought like that's the one I'm supposed to use. And as new person into this, I have no idea, you know.
Yeah, you know, that's really a good question, because a lot of those times that are in there are just a lot of it's dependent on the temperature of your. And you were talking a little bit earlier, Jim, about the temperature of your shop or your garage or whatever room that you're in. So a lot of it has to do with temperature, has to do with the age of the resin. You know, I love the Photonsters group. Those guys, you know, what the idea behind that spreadsheet is to put out. Let's say that, you know, I printed with the Elegoo gray, you printed with the Elegoo gray, you put your results out there, I put my results out there, and we try to find the happy medium in between. So it's just, I would just look at it as a starting point.
Okay.
So, you know, what I would do is there's a test file, and it's by Amerilabs. If you look up Amerilabs, there's a tiny, looks like a little tiny city that has, you know, little spires and different things on it. And when you print that, and, you know, I would take that as a baseline. So, you know, you print that first, and you do a comparison and kind of say, oh, this looks a little overexposed, it looks underexposed, and you kind of adjust from there.
Okay.
And there's no, you know, as far as exposure times, I don't think it's not really an exact science. You know, unless you have a photon or the Mars, you know, and you can use the Photonsters. They've come up with a test that you can actually test the resins, and to kind of give you an idea of how the resin will actually cure out. The problem with that is some of these faster resins, like some of the Ceritex, they don't play nice with that. So it's kind of, you know, with all the newer resins, it's really hard. Right. So, you know, I would say use the spreadsheet as a starting point, use that, print you a test file, something small, nothing large, but print a test file, take a look at it and say, it looks a little underexposed, looks overexposed, and then adjust from there.
So a couple people said it's Amerilab's Town.
Yes.
Robbie Max says definitely check out their page, which shows common problems and fixes for that town print. Chris Geritz, welcome. Man, some of the best chocolate I've ever had. I'm going to keep talking about that. Chris is one of my patrons, and we met him at IRF, and he brought some amazing chocolate. He is from Belgium, I believe. Belgium, if I could talk. He says Prusa Slicer has an export plate as STL, including supports option, and you can import that into Cheetah Box.
Very cool. Very good.
That's really cool to see. I see that Mike, Never Let the Machines Win, says his main struggle is with black. It's too opaque, I think. We talked about black sucking to print. Let's see. Chris definitely responded to that. Black's hard indeed. Much longer exposure times and slower peels. What Eccentric Nut has a really good point here. What does overexposed look like? So, what's funny is that when you're new into something, be it FDM or this, I wouldn't know what overexposed looked like. I mean, if it looked weird, maybe, but it's just like saying on an FDM printer, if your first layer isn't perfect, what's perfect? What if I never printed something before? It went down on the plate. It looks good.
Right, exactly.
Do you have a like a basis? Like, what does a good exposure look like?
So, a lot of times if you see, like, let's say an underexposed print, let's say facial features. So, I'm kind of going back to this one print here. So where the facial features are real sharp and they're not muddy. So you'll see that an underexposed print will really start to lose a lot of definition. And a lot of the edges will be real soft and not sharp. So, and that's, part of the problem is the UV light is not taking enough time to cure it. So you're kind of going from one layer to the next. And so you get this real kind of a soft appearance to your print. Underexposed, that is another thing to kind of, it's a little bit more difficult to see. It's a lot more brittle. Underexposed or overexposed prints are as well. The Amerilab's Town is a really good a way to tell if your prints are overexposed, because some of the spires, either they'll become real brittle or they'll start to pop off, and you can see that it's underexposed. So what you want to do is you want to find that happy medium. You want to get that level that's just right above being underexposed. So it's just that perfect spot.
Nice. No one wants a nutty print. There we go. And then Bill Blight, underexposed is going to be soft. Overexposed is going to look like someone had too many visits to the plastic surgeon.
Exactly.
Oh man. Speaking, never mind. We won't go there. Did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did.
Nice.
I did. Good game.
Not a bad game. Yeah, definitely better than I thought it was going to be. For jumping off topic just for a brief moment, what did you think of the halftime show?
Well, I don't know. I'm kind of old school. I was kind of hoping for it's just like one of the old school rock bands or something, so that, it's just kind of an old rocker. So it's okay.
I gotta say, I believe Shakira is like 42, and I know
actually.
Oh, 43, and J-Lo's like 50. So 50. You know what? There is hope.
There's hope.
Mike, real quick, let's see. Mike says, sorry he was late. Did you talk about tinting resins? Just we touched on it a little bit. You said you used a clear, or I think it's actually right behind you. You were talking about using a clear and then tinting it that way, right?
Yeah, you can use a clear use a clear resin. Yeah, Elegoo transparent is really good. It's cheap. Inexpensive resin. You can use a lot of other things to tint resins with. I've tried using things like mica powder But the problem is, you can go to the Dollar Tree and get cheap mica powder like makeup. But the problem is that when a lot of those particles get in solution, it really jacks with your layers when you're trying to print them. I know some people have had good luck with even straight food coloring.
Nice.
You can use a little bit of food coloring just to play around with and test. Again, you want something that if you want a true color, you'll want to get one of the pigments from Monicure. Monicure sells a set of a CMYK set that you can use. There's super concentrated pigments that you can put, and again, you get some of the little plastic graduated cylinders that either come with your printer or pick something up cheap from the Dollar General. Pour a little bit of resin in there, put a couple of drops in there, and use that as your test, and it works great.
Inventor Square, thank you so much. I just saw a notification that he just joined Patreon, so thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. This is your official shout out, so thank you so much for that. Bill Blight says, really want to use dyes made for resin. Inventor Square says, plus the food coloring safe to eat. I don't think you want to eat it after it's mixed up. Paul, happy birthday. Just turned 52 yesterday. Real quick, while we're here, I know we're about 3/4 of the way through, or a little more than that. Where can people find you on the social medias, your YouTube page, that kind of thing?
So you can find me at 3DPrintFarm on YouTube, also 3DPrintFarm on Facebook and Instagram.
Nice.
And Twitter.
And Twitter.
I'm not on Twitter as much as I should be, but usually I try to post stuff out on Instagram, and I'm pretty active on Facebook. You'll see me a lot in the Elegoo Mars users group, the Photonsters, the Photon users group, and a lot of the 3D miniature printing and painting user groups. You'll see me out there. So I try to help people out, with some of the new folks that come on and
Sure.
that have a lot of questions. Usually typically they're the same question, but we were all new once, right? I mean, right. It's like I don't look at it as I don't look at it as as a hassle. I mean, I like to help people, and whatever it takes to help somebody out and make them successful, whether that's FDM or resin printing. Again, we're a community and we're all in this together, and I think it's good that we can do things like this.
But yeah, and it's awesome. The community again is amazing, and thank you for helping people like myself. Robbie Max says, do you have any plans to go to Murph?
Oh boy, I'd love to. I mean, it's one of these days, if I can talk my wife into a trip, maybe if there's something around there that maybe she'd like to do, we can.
Nope, it's pretty much Amish people in a Walmart. Yeah, no, there's not a lot around Goshen, but I tell you, I went last year for the first time, and it was amazing. It's hard. I'm going to try to be there this year. I have a wedding. They moved the weekend to get a bigger building because they need it, but they moved it to a weekend where I already have a wedding planned. I own a DJ and entertainment business as well. And it is hard, to get out of that. And we have a baby coming, and it's hard to say no to that money too. So, but I do have a special guest. Let's see here. Garrett's Mike says Garrett's beginner type videos helped me a lot when I started. Thanks. Amish buggies, Mike said that's what they have there. And perfect. So we do have a special guest. He has a couple questions for us. Ladies and gentlemen, the 3D Miss Printer. Welcome back.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
Hey, and hi, Garrett. I got a couple questions about resin printing. I only print with filament, and I'm really jealous of all you guys with the resin printing. It's pretty awesome. But with your talk about the cleaning materials, the IPA or the mean green, I think it was called. When you use that material, you're supposed to dispose of it correctly. How do you dispose of it?
That's actually a great question. So if when your cleaning solution gets cloudy, or where it gets to the point where it is it doesn't clean well, what I'll normally do is I'll take the IPA, the container, outside on a sunny day, and what will happen is that resin that's in solution will precipitate out. So what it'll do is it'll settle it at the bottom, and it'll turn into kind of like a sludge. So it's actually being cured by the sun. A lot of times when it does that, when it does separate, you can pour off the top layer of the IPA and you can reuse that. If it's way too cloudy, a lot of the times I'll just leave it and let it stay outside until the IPA evaporates. The sludge that's at the bottom it's been cured, so I'll take that and dispose of that properly. Usually about the same way with either the mean green or the any of the green, the green cleaners, simple green, that you can actually put that outside or expose it to a high UV light to help cure anything that's floating in the solution. And that's the safest way to deal with that. You don't ever want to pour it down the drain. No. Even these, I've got some water washable resins back here, and I know that a lot of the water washable resin folks got a lot of heat showing people washing them off in the sink, because you don't want to get that into the environment or into the land anywhere. So if it's water that you're using, or if it's IPA that you're using, you want to dispose of it properly, again, by curing that fluid either out in the sun or by some high UV light source.
Oh, thank you. That was really interesting. Like I said, I'm really jealous of all you guys with that, because of the resolution you can get. The miniatures and everything are really awesome.
They are.
The second question I got for you is how long can resin stay in a reservoir, the printer? Do you put any remaining right back in the bottle, or can it wait like a day or anything like that?
I've actually went on, and I'll be the first to admit this, and I'm going to probably get jumped for it, but I've actually left my prints on the print bed after it's been printed for maybe 2 weeks. We went on a Christmas break, and I came back and I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to take the print off, and it was fine. I mean, I didn't have it, as long as you've got this, as long as you have the something protecting your printer from a UV light source, or if you're in a dark room, I can cut the light off in here. I use the vat, as I use the resin, as long as there's no cured pieces that are floating around in there, I keep adding resin to it, unless I change colors. That's really the only time that, or unless I screw up and the print is stuck to the bottom of the vat, is when I'll actually change it out. But you can take a little one of the little plastic stirrers, something that's non-scratchable, and kind of stir your resin up. But I've had it for weeks at a time and with no issues.
Oh, okay, that's really good to know.
Nice. Yeah, Mike says he's left resin in spare vats for months and often leaves prints hanging there for days. Yeah.
Okay, last thing I wanted to ask both of you guys about, Jim and Garrett. I'm getting an Ender 5 Plus whenever the IRS decides to give me my return. So I've got a metal extruder parts, kind of like you see on the CR10s. The Kersey Fabrication told me about that. And then I've got some Capricorn tubing. What else would you recommend for something to get right off the bat?
Oh man, what I would do is, in my opinion, I would print with it first before you play with too much other stuff. But printable upgrades are okay, and I say that to everybody now, because my very first Ender 3, my very first printer was an Ender 3, and I got the upgrade bug before I even got the printer. And the problem was I was brand new and didn't understand what was not working when it wasn't working, because I put all these upgrades on it, But with that being said, the printable upgrades are awesome, because it's a way to get to know your printer first, and a way to dial it in while you're printing upgrades. So it's not just like you're printing vases, because that's cool. You're printing functional upgrades that you get to see. And then for the Ender 5 Plus after that, soon there'll be a video on my channel. It's actually sitting right there, about the power supply. I'm going to go to a Meanwell power supply, because I like that much better than the stock. And then I like the flex plates. So I just did a video on the CR10 V2 flex plate. I did that same flex plate on my 5 Plus, and I love flex plates now. So
Oh, thank you very much.
And then 3D Jimmy just jumped in and said the Easy Flex system for the 5 Plus as well. So the Easy Flex, any of the Flex plates, I prefer the TH3D because of the price and the quality is really good, and they give really good service. And not to mention they sponsor the channel, so I have to say that. But I tell you, if it was
shameless
garbage,
plug.
yeah, Tim would tell me. He would tell me to my face, tell me if this is garbage because I want to know. But it's really not. Their Flex plate systems are awesome.
Cool. What about you, Garrett?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Jim on this, and I'll use my CR10 as a good example. So I tend to want to go overboard. So when I got my CR10, I had all this stuff lined up and that I wanted to install. And if you don't learn how to use it out of the box, it makes it really difficult when you try to troubleshoot things, because you're like, okay, I don't know what's what. And my suggestion is, you take it out of the box stock and learn how the thing prints, learn how the bed's leveled, how to adjust different corners and why it does what it does, especially in FDM printing. And then once you're comfortable with that, then start adding little by little. Especially the Capricorn tube is great. You won't see. I didn't change. And Tim's got some over at TH3D has some great tubing that he uses, and I ended up switching to that because I had issues with my tubing melting on mine. But you don't see that right off the bat. Usually you'll see that a little bit further down the line when you start seeing it with you start printing more things and you use it a lot more. But again, I agree wholeheartly with Jim. Is just get to learn your printer first, learn how it's put together, everything's level, and then once you get more comfortable with that, then start gradually adding things, and then it's just a piece of cake.
Just like the resin world, we don't want to go adding all this stuff to the resin if you can't get a first print. I think Robbie Mack adds a ton of stuff to his resin, and he's rocking on the prints. But yeah, so I know we have
I'll leave it alone for
left, so
I'll leave it alone for a couple of months and then put this stuff on it.
Definitely.
I wanted to bring this up.
Sure.
You guys, the viewers, were asking last week about, a robot character, and I met this guy named 2 of 5, and he said he could help me become a robot.
Nice.
Yeah. So hold on, I've got this little thing that goes on your eye, and he said it only pinched just a little bit when I put it on, but let's see here. Oh, yeah, there it is. Oh, this is pretty cool.
Nice.
Oh, man.
It's a laser beam.
Hey, wait a minute. I am the 3D misprinter of Borg. I am taking over this live feed.
Oh, no.
Resistance is futile. Resistance is futile.
What are we going to do?
I'm shutting off all your cameras. I'm taking this over. We are the Borg. Hit like and subscribe button, then share this video. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to serve us. Resistance is futile. Resistance is futile. And have a good night, guys.
I love it. So thanks so much, 3D Misprinter, for jumping in there, having a little fun with the we talked about that Adobe character animator, and that thing was so much fun. I love that thing. I told my wife I need to make one with my logo here, and she's like, nope, that's a bad idea. But we are close. We're going to end the stream here. Before I go, I forgot to say a couple things. Thank you so much to the sponsors, obviously, but thank you so much, Garrett, for coming on. I know Monday nights are rough, especially around dinner time. So I know we both got to get going, but thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with us. Everybody in the chat, if you have not checked out Garrett's channel, 3D Print Farm, check it out. It's awesome. If you're looking at resin printing at all, start from the beginning and go all the way up to his newer videos. He does a very good videos about the cleaning, how to use them, what to use the spray away glass cleaner for, all the good stuff. So check that out. But yeah, I really appreciate it. And we will see you next time. Thank you, everybody in chat. Let's see. I probably missed some questions, but we got to get flying tonight. But thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Let's see. Chris Creed says it's 2 a.m. by him. Yes, we got to go. The 3D Mist Printer says the resistance is futile. But you guys rock. I really appreciate it. Garrett, hang out right there. We'll be right back for you. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next week.